Hello and welcome back to those coming back in. I hope you were able to say goodbye and didn't have that awkward moment where you're mid-sentence and got sucked back in. It's a big group. I think we've got more coming in. Can everybody see my screen okay? Welcome to our happy hour. Perfect.
Mhm.
Love it. Well, it looks
Yeah.
like mostly everyone is back. Oh yeah, we got it. Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope everyone had wonderful conversation. I'm gonna pass the mic to our events chair, Juan, who will serve as our master of ceremonies. Don't worry, if the PowerPoint messes up, that is me. That's not Juan. Don't be mad at him. I'm the one behind the screen. Juan, take it away for us, my guy.
Thanks, Tatiana. Welcome back, everyone, from the breakout rooms. I hope you had productive conversations. Ours was interesting, just hearing perspectives from interesting homeowners and in the industry and long timers. So I think right off is introducing a little bit about why this looks different. So if you've attended our happy hours before, you've noticed that these color schemes are new, or the logo is new. So we're in the process of kind of like relaunching our brand, kind of going back with that mission. Sorry, right there. So we started 20 years ago, actually, with the same purpose of just accelerating the transition towards like renewable energy, but also focusing on the education and expanding the access of it and the benefits of solar across Central Texas. So right now, with the hiring of Tatiana as our executive director, we are in the next step to continue supporting the growth of Solar Austin, but also amplifying our impact across Austin, and then hopefully it radiates throughout Central Texas and larger Texas. So that's a bit about our story. So I'm going to fill you in a little bit on what happened on April. We had a lot of different events, a lot of happenings. Right off, we want to say that we were able to complete our donated installation to the Children's Haven. So April was our ribbon cutting ceremony, where you can see here some of the members of Solar Austin board, as well as the Children's Haven board. Children's Haven is another organization that has been in Austin for over 100 years, on Chicon Street and on the east side. And so we were able to partner up with them, had donated equipment from manufacturers, from distributors, to give them solar panels, an inverter, a battery, and the whole system to create a local resiliency hub. So this place can serve as a haven for often it's orphan kids that are trying to make it past teenagehood, and now they can have a little bit of greater reliance on clean energy. So that was a big accomplishment. And I think that there's a couple of press releases out if you want to know more details about the installation. And thank you all for supporting. I know that there's a couple of members of CB Green Tech. They're big donors as well in Austin. We also worked a little bit closer with our Pathways committee. So on the left, you'll see that we had a spring mixer of some of our interns as part of that cohort, getting together mid internship, so that everybody could share what are they doing. I think you'll see Mac and Johari on the left. They were our interns, and they are our interns until the end of the month. So technically not over yet, but they've been helping, reestablish this brand, work along in our content, and Mac has been a tremendous help when it comes to these color schemes and this logo. So that was our mixer. We also participated in a couple of Earth Day events, one at Houston Tillotson University, and the other one was at the Waterloo Park. So different sort of audiences, but it was a great opportunity to get back out there, see what other organizations are working with similar goals as us, when it comes to having greater respect for the planet, greater impact. And this is a picture of myself just working a little bit closer with kids and introducing them to solar panels with our solar cars. So help them understand that, you don't need gas to power a car. It's a little bit of a toy, but it's still like a solar panel that is driving the small motor, and it was a big success. So if you stop by, thank you so much. It won't be the last one, and we hope to have more in-person events soon. Which then brings me to our next in-person event, which will be in June. So we're very happy because we are planning to return to our summer solstice celebration. This will be on June 24th at Veracruz All Natural. So they have this area on Weberville Road where we will bring the beer, the entertainment, the music, and a little bit of our board members too. So that we hope that you can come mingle with these supporters that have been so faithful with us, whether it's the virtual happy hours or even before that, as well as some new faces about how we can improve our impact, have different avenues of volunteering, have different conversations about what we can do, but overall, just celebrate that it's summer solstice, celebrate that this is an important time of the year. Both as a moment to step back and reflect, but also, to charge up for the second half. So hope you can write it down in your calendars. Friday, June 24th, starting at 6 p.m. We'll bring the beer, the food, and the good times, and all you have to do is just show up. So looking forward to seeing you at Veracruz All Natural in Marburg Road. And so speaking on that, we still want to continue counting on you as a volunteer. So if you are interested in finding out more about different ways of volunteering with our committees, whether it's events or projects or education or pathways or policy, please feel free to scan this QR code, where you can fill out a volunteer form. You can also follow us on social media for different opportunities that will come about. We will hope to make it a little bit easier for you to also know what type of events will be needed. But I think with your great help, we will also continue to expand our presence, throughout different community events and partnerships. So feel free to scan it or show up and talk to us at the summer solstice celebration. We also couldn't be here without our stellar sponsors. They've been great help, whether it's with the Pathways program and interns or just financial support for us to have an executive director and keep up with our programs and keeping the lights on. So definitely want to help support or highlight FTC Solar. They're based in Austin as well as Recurrent Energy. And these are other of our megawatt sponsors. So Orsted, Yada, and others that are just based in town, and we've had some sort of partnerships, whether it's through events or internships that they've been able to support our work. So if you're interested in being a sponsor, please feel free to reach out to us. I think there's many great opportunities for both you to support our work and us to also help out with greater presence. But now I think it's time to talk a little bit about Solar Shingles, which is what everyone is here for. Everyone wants to learn a little bit more about David and what GAF Energy does. He is the territory manager at GAF, and if you had a chance to read his bio, he is an Austin native. He's been in the city and right now lives in Houston, but he came from the solar industry. He worked in different roles, whether it was at Freedom Solar, which is one of our sponsors, or SunPower, or working more with electrical contractors. He's made his way to GAF a couple of years ago, to help introduce Solar Shingles and also expand the name and expand the product, as it is relatively new to the market. I think that they took home a couple of awards at a recent ceremony at a recent construction equipment conference, where they were considered the most innovative product with their Timberline Solar Shingles. One of the many companies that are working on Solar Shingles, but I think this is a name that will pop up more frequently for us in the solar industry. They're a household name when it comes to in the roofing industry, similar to DuPont or others that make films. But I'll let kind of David take it away from here and tell us more about himself and give us a little bit of context on GAF Energy as we take a deep dive on what Solar Shingles are and why I think it's important for us to start learning about him. I will say, if you have any sort of questions, please drop them in the chat. I do want to give time, maybe between 6:45 and 7 for us to have a conversation about those questions that come up, maybe a little bit earlier. But I hope that we can give David a little bit of time to go through his presentation, his videos, and afterwards we can open it up for a free-flowing conversation. So thanks so much for being here, and really appreciate David for joining us. So take it away, man.
Hey, thank you, Juan. I appreciate the introduction, and thank you, Solar Austin Group, for having me here to kind of talk about what we're doing at GAF and how we're trying to reshape the solar landscape, certainly. So I think Juan did a great introduction. My name is David Altoona. I am a native Austinite, so I grew up in North Austin. My folks still live up off of 183 in Jollyville. So that's where I was all weekend. I had two nephews and one niece that were graduating high school. So fortunately, I got to spend most of the Memorial holiday with family and with friends. So that certainly was fun. And so, my solar career started actually in Austin with SunPower. So, I still work for, a solar manufacturer. I worked in the domain with SunPower, and I found myself working in the new home. And so in California, they have, very progressive laws involving renewables, particularly for new homes. And so that's kind of where I first learned the value of solar was from Californians who were buying new homes and were looking to integrate, solar into the new home purchase. So certainly it's a very cool market. We do have a lot of Californians that are coming to Austin and Houston and other parts, of Texas. And so I do appreciate that they're bringing kind of their renewable mindset to this market, something that we certainly could benefit from here in Texas. So that's really how I got started with solar. I did work at Freedom Solar. I think one of your sponsors, a phenomenal solar company. I think probably one of the largest in Texas. And so that's kind of where I really got to become more familiar with different types of solar technologies. Now for, the story with GAF, while I was still at SunPower, I had heard that our marketing director was going to a company called GAF. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. I thought, so he's going to go join a roofing company. And at the time, I hadn't heard of GAF. Like a lot of folks pronounce GAF, which it's not. It's GAF. And so, shortly after the marketing director left, some other people went from Sun. I had some friends at Tesla. They went and joined GAF. And it started to become very apparent that GF was going to take a stab, the solar market. And so, at the time I thought it was odd, but in retrospect, it really fits in with kind of the goal of the company. And a little bit about GAF. We are a 138-year-old company. So we date back to, Statue of Liberty, or I guess you could say the invention of Coca-Cola. And so we've been in the manufacturing business, for over a century. The GAF is the largest distributor of composition shingles, also known as asphalt shingles, in North America. And our parent company is Standard Industries, and they're the largest producer of composite shingles in the whole world. So we're in parts of Europe, Russia, all around the world. We do composite shingles. And so, GAF has always had the attitude that, we want to do our part for the environment. And so, the bulk of what we'll talk about today is, how we're, kind of tackling climate change and generating renewable energy through our solar shingle. But, I did want to mention a couple other initiatives that GAF has also kind of pioneered in parallel with this. And so, one cool program that we're actually piloting right now in Florida and in South Carolina is we are recycling the asphalt shingles, the old ones that come off of someone's roof. And so instead of, generating tons of waste throughout the country, typically you take a roof, it goes in the trash, and it just ends up in landfills. We're actually able to recollect and repurpose as much as 60% of that asphalt shingle. And so, it's just an initiative that Standard and GF take very seriously, as more and more companies are focusing on renewable aspects of their products. And another one, that's very intriguing, and nothing officially has been announced about it. But we're actually working on an asphalt shingle, which will actually allow for carbon from the environment to be deposited within the asphalt shingle. And then whenever it's repurposed, we can take the carbon that's built up and put it in, driveways or cement, put it back in the roads. And so, between those two initiatives and what we're doing with the solar shingle, we do want to leave this world a better place than when we got it. So, all of that, relatively interesting, but, let's talk about the solar shingle, which is, I think, why most of us are here. And so, in addition to those initiatives that I mentioned, GAF has been a leader, particularly in the residential roofing manufacturing process. And so the goal for GAF Energy, our tagline, our motto, if you will, is generating energy from every roof. And, compared to, solar companies that I've worked at in the past, maybe we talk to 5,000 solar interested humans, 5,000 people in a year. Through the GF network, we come into contact with hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of homeowners that are in need of something relatively basic, which is a roof. And we've seen other manufacturers attempt to get into this industry. Not all of them have been super successful. I think the first version of like a solar shingle that I've heard of is like Dow, where they made the solar shingle, and I think that was back in 2006. And since then, there's been a number of different players. I think, of course, the most popular one being Tesla, when they released the Tesla solar roof a few years ago. And so in an effort, not just to maintain our kind of environmental standards, GF wants to maintain, the position as a relevant roofing manufacturer for, the years to come. And so it was crucial that we develop, a business channel where we can kind of protect our interests in making asphalt shingles, but still provide homeowners with a solar option for their roof. And so the challenge was really to take what has historically been a solar panel market and product where we have one warranty from one manufacturer that covers both your roof and the solar. And so I have, and so this is really what we're seeing. We're seeing that consumers, people that own homes, they want solar. If you ask folks, hey, is there a chance that you might be interested in solar in the next 10 years? I think more and more people are saying, well, yeah, or is there a chance you might drive an electric vehicle when you get ready to replace your vehicle? More people today are saying that is looking more and more likely and more possible today than ever before. And so at GAF Energy, we can install solar shingles. We can do we can install EV chargers, to get your home ready for electrification of vehicles. And we do have battery options that are officially coming very soon. I would say the bulk of the projects we're doing right now are really just for the solar shingle. And a lot of that is folks understandably are kind of waiting for lithium ion and other battery solution options to become a little bit more affordable. But that is definitely something that we can do here in-house. And so I hope you can see this. And Juan, maybe you can help me out. I'm going to share this screen. I don't know that you'll be able to hear the audio. Are you able to hear it?
No, but I think that there is a way to make it possible. If you go on Zoom.
So share. Oh, maybe I do it like this. Okay, hold on.
Nope.
Better? Nope. So we really don't need to hear the audio. It's okay. I'm just gonna turn it down here. You can still hear me though, right? One?
Yes.
You're good. Okay, cool. So this is, I'll just kind of narrate as we're going through it, but this was one of the early adopters sometime back in February who elected to install the GAF Timberline Solar roof. And he put together a really neat podcast. Juan, I can send you the link if there's a good place to post it later.
Yeah.
But, basically his story was that, his roof was old. It was around 24 years old, and he needed a new roof. And like, a lot of folks in California, the economics are very justifiable for, adding solar to your roof. And so he got two different bids. He got one, um, and I believe he actually had put down a deposit for it. But for whatever reason, the permits or for something else, it was going to take about a year for him to get a Tesla solar roof. And so that's when he contacted our partner in California. They're called West Shore Roofing. And he had heard about our product from the Consumer Electronics Show, which I think I mentioned was in January. And so when we launched this product, we got a lot of buzz. We thought maybe, hey, we're going to get an honorable mention, maybe two. We actually ended up taking home 8 awards, and it included the best smart home innovation of the year, of the whole show, rather. And so what you see here is, the solar module that I showed to Juan, and I'll show you kind of a closer picture of it. But I'm going to pause here. What I wanted to highlight is, these are the energy shingles right here. This is the carbonized fiber raceway. So this is made out of the same material as airplanes, so it's very durable. And it was important for us to make a system that was easily serviceable. And so we wanted to make the wires and the NC4 connectors something that was external, easy to access, and easy for our roofers to replace in the event that a shingle fails and needed to be replaced. You'll notice that we do pair the energy shingle with an asphalt shingle component. And so we actually custom make each shingle through GAF Energy, and it has a larger exposure. So the energy shingle is actually a little bit bigger than most of the asphalt shingles that you'll see around. And so this increased exposure helps it sit flush with the energy shingle that goes on the roof. So we can combine, multiple arrays, really depending on how much energy, that a homeowner needs to use. And we put it all together to have, a really clean product that is deck. So totally flush with the roof. You can kind of see from some of these drone images, that it's not above the roof, and it is in fact directly to the deck there. So this is a cool video. It wasn't put together by our marketing team, so that's why I thought it might be of interest.
That's a really cool video, and I think right there, maybe if you pause on that, I'm kind of curious to know what happens to the runways. Like how does that component get connected with the house?
Sure, absolutely. So this is actually before our electrical team comes out to do the electrical connections. And so this product is a nailable shingle. So all that needs in order to install is just a nail gun. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I have my.
Okay. And so really all the roofing crews need to install this is a nail gun. And so, this would have been a finished roofing product. And then what GF does is we actually provide in-house electricians who will come and will run the conduit. So, by default, we always install an attic. So we run the conduit internally. And there will be like a vent. It's called a transition box that the electricians will install. And that's how they'll, pass the conduit, through the roof deck. And then it'll be run, and drop down through the soffit to wherever the main service panel is. Does that answer your question, Juan?
Definitely.
Awesome.
Thanks. I realized that I also told the audience to save the questions and put them on the chat for the end, but I think we have such a small enough group that maybe
Yeah,
we can, yeah, we can unmute ourselves and then just ask questions.
please.
So I don't know if there's any other questions that that are on the video. I thought it was pretty neat how he was filming, you know, the shingles as he was unpacking them as well. So I know that there's a question that Mark kind of just raised, which is if solar shingles provide better resistance to severe hail than a typical solar module. So maybe just talking a little bit about the film itself.
Sure, that's a great question. So let me actually pull up a picture of a shingle. We'll come down here. So this is a full schematic of the energy shingle. It's 5 feet wide.
I don't think we're able to see that one.
Hold on.
I see your mouse, but
okay, thank you, Juan. I appreciate it.
yeah.
There we go. Okay. And so the energy shingle itself, it has a hail rating like most typical solar panels that you'll find. This is rated for a 1.5-inch steel ball, you know, essentially at what the terminal velocity of hail would be. And so, you know, we have a whole research and development team whose job is to basically break our products. It's actually kind of a fun job. And so that's what we came up with, is that this, you know, this product, when installed on a roof between a 2-on-12 up to an 18-on-12, will withstand, you know, 1.5-inch steel ball. Now, you know, we don't typically get, you know, like softball size hail in Austin or Houston. It's not unheard of in places like the Dallas market. And so, you know, in those kind of events where it's, you know, bigger than maybe 1.5 inches, your insurance company will replace it just kind of like a regular roof, right? So you can still file an insurance claim if, you know, there's a hailstorm that, you know, does more damage than what's covered under warranty. So in that regard, similar to solar panels. That's a good question. And y'all feel free to keep the questions coming. I don't have a super long presentation. I, you know, try to, I prefer to be more engaging. Absolutely. I was trying to.
I suppose I could throw in a question. I'm seeing the shingles, it's at what, 45 watts.
Mhm.
Right now, what you're seeing from these first installs from these roofing companies, are you getting up to the kilowatt hours of a typical solar panel install? You know, are you getting up to 10 kilowatts, or what is kind of the standard already?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say that it is comparable to that of like a standard solar panel. Now we don't have like an official efficiency rating, you know, for the product. I would say the footprint for a Timberline solar system is slightly larger than that of like what a rack system would do of a comparable size. You know, that being said, the energy shingle itself is certainly smaller. And so what we found that we can do is actually work a little bit closer to some of the hips and valleys where maybe a traditional solar panel wouldn't fit. And so really it kind of depends on the shape of the roof, what kind of obstructions there are. You know, is it a flat ridge roof with no gables on the back? You know, or is it more kind of like some of these Dallas roofs where the architecture is complex? And in both cases, we found that it is, you know, comparable to that of a solar panel, albeit slightly larger of a footprint. So that's a good question.
Thank you.
Now the panel itself, so the shingle itself, you know, we haven't reinvented certain things like the type of cell that we use. We use what's called half cell technology. So each energy shingle will be divided into 16 half cells, and we do use monocrystalline PERC cells. You know, they are the black color, which has become pretty popular for aesthetic reasons. And essentially what we've done is we've bonded those solar cells within a shingle. And the really interesting thing is we actually utilize something called TPO. And this is kind of like a rubber polymer. It's been used in commercial roofing for decades. We actually had to kind of fight off some of our commercial suppliers to secure enough product, but we did it. And this is essentially the back of the energy shingle, and it's what gives the product its waterproofing characteristic. And so first and foremost, what GF wanted to make was a product that guarantees the waterproofing of your roof, since that is its primary purpose. And then we wanted to find a way to make, a competitive product that was solar that could also, turn that roof into an asset, not just to save money, but, of course, to generate energy for a home. And so that's essentially what we've done.
So David, you brought up the point about weatherproofing, right? And waterproofing. Carol had a question about how you're preventing the roof from leaking, during the installation. Like in solar, it's pretty comparable to understand that there's railing that happens and there's flushing that kind of prevents the railing.
Right.
How does that work when there's so many different points of connection, between a shingle or a series of shingles in the roof?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. So the way that we build these systems, we still use traditional underlayments. And so for our system, there's a number of different underlayments that a roofer may suggest, right? So what's popular on the East Coast might be different from what they use in the West Coast, and might be different from what's used here in Texas. And so, what we tell our roofing partners is, hey, use your preferred type of underlayment. And so that, still covers the deck. And then you can't really see it, but right here, there would actually be like a nail line. And so roofers would nail this into the underlayment, which is self-sealing. And so those nails go direct to the deck. And really with this TPO that is the back lining of the shingle, that's what is responsible for the waterproofing. And so you basically would layer them on. So you see how this would kind of overlap the next shingle that would go on top of it. And so that this would just be the exposed area right here. And so, yeah, between the underlayments and the TPO, that's how we achieve total waterproofing of the system. And so we've done
that underlayment. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
That underlayment is kind of what we saw in the video. That was the white film that was applied on the wood of the roof, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That would be the underlayment. Yep. And there's, like I said, there's a variety of different ones that you can use. Yep. And so really, it's kind of interesting. Before we came out with the Timberline Solar energy shingle, what we had done before is we would actually take a Solaria panel and we would mount it directly to the deck. So, we wanted to avoid putting holes in shingles as much as possible. And so, the first iteration that we had, it was available prior to January. It looked very similar to like a skylight. And I thought I had a picture of it on here, but I'm seeing maybe I had removed it. And so, really that product in and of itself was very interesting. But what we found is that it was still installed very much like a solar panel. And so our roofers were having to do, quite a bit of pre-assembly. You have to get a heavy panel on top of a roof, and it just wasn't fast enough for them. And so with this product, it is literally designed to be installed as quickly as a regular roof is. The one exception would be, we do send an electrician to come on the back end of the installation. And that takes, around half a day, depending on the system size. The other difference is, each energy shingle comes in at weighing, around 10 pounds. And so that's in contrast, like a solar panel, which is, maybe around 45, between 40 and 50 pounds. And so what we've seen is, there's certain jurisdictions that will require, structural stamps or like a structural review to make sure that the roof can support the additional load of solar. Jurisdictions haven't been requiring that from us because this weighs much closer to that of a regular shingle that goes on your roof. So, certainly we don't have the same types of calculations as, creating lift because the solar panel will be raised above a roof. And this will be sitting totally flush with it. So between the weight limitations and the reduced, wind tolerance that we need to abide by, for those reasons, we don't even really need structural stamps. So it's very exciting. This is a picture of one of the first systems that we put on. It's actually my boss's house in Parsippany, New Jersey. And here you can actually see the vents. These are called transition boxes. This is actually a site of like a rapid shutdown, as well as, an entry point for us to drop the conduit into the attic. And so they were designed to kind of mimic a roof vent. It's called an O'Hagan vent. It's well, sorry. And so that's basically what this mimics. Now we are actually looking this summer to be able to relocate these transition boxes internally into the attic, which will really, just improve the aesthetics of the product itself. So we think future state, as long as it's not a cathedral or a closed ceiling, that this will be inside. And really the only thing you'll see is kind of an energy shingle that resembles somewhat of like a standing seam metal roof, this being the seam portion.
So David, you touched upon the point of rapid shutdown there. And so for people that don't know, rapid shutdown is part of the National Electric Code that is required for any sort of electrical material that's on top of the roof so that firefighters can de-energize, and provide a shutdown of the energy, in case there's a fire, there's a reason for the firefighter to be on the roof. You mentioned that those are kind of like in those two vent boxes, those are the rapid shutdown points.
Mhm.
So is it controlling a string of shingles or a single shingle? Like does each shingle have its own rapid shutdown component, or how does that meet the code?
Right. So it would actually be each string. And so this would be, a DC rapid shutdown. And then, of course, we'd have another one at the level of the inverter. You'd have the AC disconnect as well. And so, these systems are strung together. We use a conventional string inverter. So, we have found a way around needing microinverters and power optimizers. And so, we string these together in order to mitigate shade. But, one other cool thing that went into the forethought and the planning of this product is to make a product with this that tolerates shade well. And so in R&D's initial testing, we've actually found that this system outperforms microinverters and power optimizers. And the way that we've done so is by taking, the energy shingle. We've actually added extra bypass diodes. And so, what a bypass diode does is it's essentially an alternate pathway for electricity or for current to travel around when there's some form of shade in certain solar cells. And so what we have is one bypass diode per 4 total cells. And in your standard 60 cell solar panel, there are 3 bypass diodes for 20 cells. So, the ratio is like 1 to 20 in a conventional solar panel. With our product, we have 1 for every 4. And so, it's essentially 5 times more pathways for current to flow in the event of part of that energy shingle being shaded. Does that make sense, Juan? Did I explain that in a reasonable way?
That was very well. That's fascinating.
Yeah, thank you. And a lot of times, I've worked for Freedom and a number of other companies. I'd say the most common thing that will fail on a solar system is typically a microinverter or a power optimizer. And so with this system, we've really eliminated the need for additional hardware or things that could potentially fail down the road. And so that was certainly something that we had planned for as we built out this project. And so really, I think this kind of highlights the main features of our solar product, and then I'll kind of talk about the warranty after this. But this is a product made for our roofers. And so right now we operate in 11 states between the East Coast down to Florida. We have Texas kind of in the middle, and then the West Coast we have California, Hawaii, Nevada's coming on soon, and Arizona. And so this product is exclusively available through our roofing channel. And so with GAF, we have different tiers of roofers, depending on how many certifications they might have, what kind of volume they've done, how many inspections GF has done of their projects. And so we have the top tier of our roofers called Master Elites. And these are the roofers, at least right now, that are able to quote and install these systems once they've completed training. So it's nailable, it is lightweight, it is durable, and so far, we've seen install times that are right on par with just doing a regular roof. So really, it's not the kind of project where we're going to be on the roof for weeks or months. It's just about the same amount of time that you would have for your roof.
Yeah, and you eliminate the electronics on the roof, and I think that's a big plus. I think you're minimizing the risk points. Andres asked a question over there, asking if JF has financing. So maybe you can speak a little bit more about those solars and what JF can do.
That's a great question. So, and it kind of highlights a challenge that the roofing industry has had to overcome in order to get into solar. Understandably, there's like a lot of barriers to opening a solar company. If anyone's on this call that has started a solar company, firsthand what those barriers are. And so one of them, among other things, is access to solar financing. And so we have partnered with Mosaic Financing. And so we're able to offer all of the roofers in our program access to up to 25-year financing. And so if you are a partner and you're onboarded and you go through the trainings, we provide solar financing as well. And yeah, go ahead, Juan.
Yeah, just along those lines, Melinda had a question a little earlier. We're talking about cost, so she's asking about how the cost of solar shingles might compare to the cost of solar panels, and it could be cost per wire, cost per square footage,
Sure.
perhaps.
Yeah, and I would say so at the highest level, I would say it comes in between getting solar and a new roof and cost of like a Tesla solar roof. So a lot of the installs that I see, depending on system size, are coming in between the 350 watt up to like $4 a watt. So I would say the average solar install cost is right around there, 350 to 4. If it's a smaller system, it may be more. But yeah, I think that's kind of a fair way to characterize it. So folks who have like compared, our system to that of like a rack system, typically it might cost maybe an extra $1,000 or $1,500. But with our warranty, it seems like it's easily justifiable. So that's a good question.
Cool. And so that 350 or so is already with installation included. It's not just the parts, right? It's the full package deal.
That's correct. And so it's totally turnkey. And so, one of the problems we solved was financing for our roofers. But there's a number of other challenges. Like if you're a roofer, like who's going to make your solar proposals? We have solved that for our roofers. And so GAF Energy is the manufacturer. We do all the proposal services. We have in-house designers that will put them together. We'll rework them, we'll revise it as needed according to the customer's bill or whatever their goals are. So we'll help qualify, we'll generate proposals. Kind of another barrier to entry in the solar market is solar permitting. And people are always asking what kind of changes should be made in the US to promote renewable energy. And I always say, let's make a unified solar permit application. Let's try and reduce costs because right now there's a lot of back office paper that has to go in just to obtaining the solar permits. And so GF Energy, we actually provide permit runners. We have interconnection coordinators. A roofer will have access to a project coordinator that helps keep the project on track. So that all a roofer has to do, is put a proposal in front of a homeowner and find out, what kind of a system they're interested in. Take some pictures, they send it back to us. We take care of all the paperwork, and then their job ends when they go put on the new roof. And so we'll, interconnection. And I kind of touch on this as well. Most roofers don't have an electrician on staff. Some of them do, depending on what kind of work that they do. But we've also solved the need for electrical engineers or electricians by providing in-house electricians that work directly for GAF. And of course, GF Energy, in conjunction with our warranty, we also provide O&M services. So with our warranty, it is a 25-year warranty that's essentially bumper to bumper on the solar component. So I'll kind of come up here as I'm mentioning it. So GAF is, always had it, we've been a leader in the asphalt shingle kind of warranty market. We have a 50-year non-prorated warranty on the asphalt component. We sell something called the Golden Pledge, which includes a 25-year labor component. So that includes misapplication. So if a roofer, doesn't install it right, or maybe one of the crews is having a bad day, GF will actually pay them to go back out there and fix it. So for a long time, it's been one of the safest roofs that you can get in the roofing industry. And so kind of in line with, the warranty that we've offered on the roofs, we wanted to extend that to solar. And so I think, there's really cool things about our warranty. I think one of the main highlights is that we do have access to a 25-year production guarantee. And that is backed directly by GAF Energy. And so, we take roof reports from our roofers, so we get the measurements exactly right. We import them into Aurora, and then we generate, an annual production, and GAF will actually guarantee 85% of that. So, even if there's extra rainy days, season, we will actually produce a document that says how much energy you'll produce off of that roof over 25 years. And so, a lot of these inverters, I think Juan, you and I were talking about this, maybe those inverters fail come year 10 or 11. In the event that your inverter fails, your system production would drop down to zero. And so GF will come and pay for the labor and the materials to install a new inverter. So really this warranty kind of pays for itself.
Now, solar panels also offer like the degradation warranty, right? So over 25 years, it degrades at a certain percentage. Is it shaped in a similar way for solar shingles? Like there's degradation that happens, and you guarantee like 15% degradation over 25 years?
Correct. So as far as the power and the degradation go, we guarantee 86% by year 25 of the 45 watts, essentially. So it comes out, I think there's 2% allowable in the first year, and then 0.55% every year thereafter.
Okay, so it's super comparable. So
very, very comparable,
Yeah.
Very comparable. Absolutely. Yep, that's a good question. So that's kind of the overarching warranty. Here's, how it's kind of spelled out in more exact terms. So, these are similar to, solar warranties. We have protect against manufacturing defects. This is that, 86% power output guarantee. Third-party components do have a 25-year coverage. We guarantee the electrical for 10 years. That's the workmanship. And then again, with our highest level of warranty, which is the Solar Max, we will actually guarantee the energy coming off of the roof. All right.
So just to clarify, so that top tier guarantee covers the inverter, which is almost guaranteed to go bad before the 25 years.
It does. And here's the way. And I had 12 lawyers that I was asking the ins and outs about this warranty. And so what they've said is, since we have a 25-year production guarantee, anything that impacts how much energy is coming off of that roof is going to be covered for 25 years. And you can kind of basically see it down here, covered for any issues that prevent achievement of a 25-year production guarantee. So if that inverter fails at any point during those 25 years, it's going to impact the production of the system. And so this 25-year production guarantee is really kind of an umbrella policy, if you will, that covers the production of the entire system.
I have so many questions, but I don't want to take up too much time.
No, keep them coming. I don't mind, Jonathan.
How did you settle on Delta inverters?
Yeah, that's a fair question. We picked Delta because, they're used in, I guess, utility scale applications. They seem reliable for big projects. And I think, we wanted to pick an inverter that had a good cost point, while allowing, different types of strings, so I think most of the inverters can handle 3 strings. And when you get to some of the bigger 10 kilowatt inverters, you can go up to 4 to 5 strings. So, that's kind of how we landed on the Delta option.
Gotcha. And then the maintenance, does that have to be in-house? Like, you have the inverter goes bad, is it in-house O&M, or you like contract third party?
No, we do it all in-house. And so, that was, I've been with the company for 3 years. We used to use subs back in the day when we first started. And I can tell you, after, project coordinating some of those jobs, it just kind of became a nightmare, because we don't have, the level of control over subcontractors that we would like. And so by bringing all of the services in-house and by staffing our own electricians, it gives us more control over the schedules and, when projects get installed. And additionally, for servicing the system should it fail. So as far as I'm aware, there are no markets where, we use third-party O&M services, at least for now. That's a good question.
I think along those lines, Melinda had a question about, like, what does maintenance usually look like? What is the required maintenance over the lifetime of the system?
Yeah, it's really kind of on par with what a regular solar system might need. And in Texas, at least where I live in Houston, the only concern would be maybe soiling that would accumulate on solar panels. But since we get enough rain in Houston, and I would argue Austin and Dallas as well, we really don't encourage washing down the panels or anything. If the energy shingle, or if you have solar, it's in SoCal, you have that desert kind of climate, you don't get a lot of rain, perhaps you'd want to spray down your panels. But there's really, no ongoing maintenance that you need for this system. Yep.
Great. And I think jumping back, there was another question on the chat about the installation process of this. So can they only be installed on shingled roofs, or what about other, flat roofs or metal roofs?
Yeah, good question. So, since the bulk of GAF's business is the composite shingle, sector of the industry, that is who we've targeted for this product. So, I've been getting lots of requests to have like a metal roof application or a tile, and those are being considered for future developments. But right now our focus is, on the bulk of our business, which is the composite shingle. And, I think one other interesting thing to mention with this product, right, and really why there's so much room just in the whole solar industry for all different kinds of products, is that you really do want to get a new roof when you're buying the energy shingle. And so in order to keep your roof warranty and our solar warranty totally intact, you're going to want to do a total tear off and install both of them at the same time. So I was in Conroe, which is north of Houston, couple of weeks ago, and he really liked our shingle. He liked the way it looked. He just found out he's looking at 19 cents a kilowatt hour with center point, and he wanted to protect himself against the rising electricity costs. Unfortunately, his roof was just too new that he wasn't ready to tear the whole thing off. And I said, frankly, I don't know that I would want to tear off a brand new roof. So this is somewhat of a subset of solar interested homeowners, and it would be the subset of folks that already need a new roof anyways.
It's perfect because I think we have a couple of those in the audience. I know that Melinda's in the process of building a house, so I think that this is part of the reason why she's attending the event. I'm curious, Eric, about your question. Do you mind unmuting yourself and just elaborating a little more about the question you posted on the chat? If not, we can come back to it later. I'm just not too sure what you mean by having. Oh, so I muted myself, but I'm not too sure what you mean by having its own solar facility. So whenever you get a chance, can you elaborate? And that way we can see how we can help you.
And while he's unmuting or whether it comes up again, this is kind of a cool thing. It was important for us to make a product, here in America. And so the energy shingle itself is manufactured in GAF Energy's headquarters, which is in San Jose. Very soon we'll be able to say it's made in Texas because we are building a manufacturing plant in Georgetown. I believe we've secured those permits, and it's going to start being built later this year. The asphalt shingle, which is the composition shingle portion of our product, is made in Indiana. And so I think I mentioned GAF Energy, makes those ourselves versus using GAF to make them because it does have a larger exposure. So out of the whole energy shingle, the only thing that is not from this country is the actual solar cell itself. And I believe those come from South Korea. So everything else is, made and put together here in the country. So
That's
I don't know
awesome.
if that answered your question or not, Eric, but I took a stab at it.
Those are awesome news. Jonathan, I don't want to be rude and interrupt. I know you mentioned you had other questions, but don't want to put you on the spot either if you're done asking them, but I want to make sure that all your curiosities are satisfied here.
Sure. I have I guess a more simple question. Just like how many panels, or excuse me, solar shingles would go on a typical roof, like comparable to like somebody that wants 20 panels. Okay, they want to replace their roof. So instead of 20 panels, they would get how many solar shingles?
Each one is 45 watts, and you can kind of, I would say probably like this size system is, maybe comparable to this one. So, the energy shingle itself, like I had mentioned, it'll take up, a little bit of a larger footprint. So just for sake of comparison, I want to say I was looking at a 6 kilowatt system for one of our interested homeowners down in Fulshire, which is close to Houston. And I want to say his system was going to occupy around so he had a quote for a system around 6 kilowatts. It was going to occupy 900 square feet. And our system was going to occupy 1,100 square feet of the same system size. So, like I said, our footprint is slightly larger. Most of it has to do with the raceways so that we can access the MC4 connectors if we need to replace a shingle. But, it is relatively comparable. Texas, we big solar systems because we have big, ACE are getting quotes in, the 8 to 10 kilowatt range, if not higher. I think the largest one that we've put in commission to date is a 36 kilowatt, and that is in Virginia, actually. Something I worked on before I came over to Texas. So, as far as system size, we can certainly get up there.
So like speaking in just number of panels, I guess, because there's like a lot of overlap with the TPO or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like like in that largest system or just like the smaller systems, like a 6 kilowatt or an 8 kilowatt, like how many solar shingles would be coming on that pallet?
So, I mean, I guess I could count these. So each one is like 45 watts, right? So if we're looking at, let's just say like an 8,000 watt system, that would be 177 energy shingles.
Oh, sure. I guess, yeah, basic math. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So it'd be 177. One way we can, you know, and one of the challenges, admittedly, is that I've worked with folks who have a solar background for, close to the last decade. And a lot of our roofers are still kind of learning the lingo. And so we've started to find some tricks, right? So the energy shingle is 1.43 kilowatts per square. And so roofers are always thinking, about your roof in terms of squares, which is equal to 100 square feet. And so that's kind of an easy conversion for them. So they can say, oh, well, if I'm dealing with, 5 squares on this slope, that means 5 divided by 1.43. That means we can fit around a 3.5 kilowatt system. So it kind of just helps them ballpark and, estimate how much solar could fit and, as well as go over cost for that.
Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've raised a lot of
Otherwise-
interest by.
I'm sorry.
Oh, didn't want to interrupt. Did you have another one, Jonathan?
I mean, just one last question. It's just kind of random. Like, do you have to go through the attic? I mean, if the customer doesn't want any holes at all, can you just put external conduit like a typical?
Good.
Okay.
Absolutely. And in cases, where the ceiling's closed off, it's not an option. So, we will run external in those cases as well. Yep, good question.
Cool. Thank you. That's my questions. Appreciate you.
Cool. You bet.
So you raised a lot of interest by that mention of a Georgetown GAF plant. Any more details you could share? They're asking maybe when could production be expected? Like, are you thinking about breaking ground?
I really can't.
Confidential, of course.
Yeah, I really don't have any other details other than it is coming soon. And I would probably expect it to be up and running in the next year or so. Yeah.
Cool. It's good to hear that it's coming home.
It is. And, I think for GF, it's a good central location from which to ship the energy shingle. Because right now they're all shipped from California, all the way to the East Coast and all the way to us here in Texas. So it'll be a good central location.
Hey, David. I'm with CD Green Tech, so distribution side of things. What does the onboarding process look like for getting new installers trained on using your system?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so, right now the product is only available to GAF roofers. And so I kind of mentioned there's different tiers. And so, right now you have to be a roofer registered with the GAF program. And then the second requirement, is that you do have to be a master elite. And so that's, it's natural for us to start with kind of our high volume, highly trained, highly certified roofers. And once we really hammer out the process, I think eventually the goal is to have it available for every GAF contractor. So unfortunately, it's not a product that's available to, just a solar company, unless they, some solar companies are certified with GAF. And I'd say those people really, really like the product because they've kind of seen the evolution over the years of our product. So does that answer your question, Zenith?
Yeah, it does. It just sounds like to get onboarded, you would need to become a GAF certified roof installer.
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
How can the general crowd identify those certified installers?
So if you go to our website, say you're interested or you have someone that is, you can go to gaf.energy. You can enter in your contact info here, and then we'll actually contact you and get you set up with one. I don't know that we have like a centralized place where you can look up roofers just in our program because they're being added very quickly. I think right now we have 60 roofers across the country that are in the program. And, you know, if you check back with me this time next month, it would probably be over 100 or 120. So, you know, certainly it's available in all the major cities here in Texas, as well as other parts of the country as well.
That's great. Andres had a question. You know, the Timberline Solar product is great, but does GAF have any other advancements, you know, when it comes to PV? Perhaps you could share.
You know, I will say this, there have been rumors of a product in which you don't mix the asphalt shingle with the energy shingle. And so, you know, essentially it'll be somewhat like what you're seeing right here, right, with the energy shingle, but there will be non-solar versions of this shingle available. And so there's been some R&D that's been going on, but I have no idea, you know, kind of where they're at with it or when that might be available. So I think, you know, for the future, we're going to keep this product as well as the uniform product that will be developed in the future available, because I think they'll be at different price points. And so the goal, attractive roof that has the same GAF warranty, you know, while giving people different options.
Yeah, plus it's new, and so it's waiting to see like what other iterations or new versions of this will come out. But to put it in a nutshell, then the Timberline Solar is the main product, and then there's two different warranty packages that you can choose from, or are there any other sort of like add-ons or varieties, you know, whether it comes storage, EV charger, or you know.
Yeah, so storage will be an option soon. We're piloting our battery program in California. So for Texas, you know, interested homeowners, that's coming probably at the end of this month. We have partnered with Sonnen, so that's who we'll be able to install with in-house. And then of course, you know, third-party AC coupled batteries are also compatible with this system. As far as the warranty goes, you know, get with a roofer to check to see which warranties they offer. I know most of them prefer the Solar Max just because, you know, it's a transferable warranty that covers your whole roof for 25 years. But you know, there are different variations of that warranty. So, you know, you may, for example, be able to decline a warranty. You might save around $1,000. But you know, then if your inverter fails at some point, you know, you're kind of on the hook to fix it yourself.
Yeah, that's kind of the downside. So, but good to know there's options, you know, and it's kind of solar specific. I want to make sure that everybody else's other questions get answered. Feel free to unmute yourself, you know, before we dive into closing remarks, so we can end right on time. I think it's been such a revolutionary presentation that you've given us. You know, it shows how, you know, there's kind of compromise, I think, happening in the construction industry, you know, between solar and roofers. So, you know, I think it's going to make a lot of homeowners happy, but hopefully, you know, the industry can also respond. It sounds like roofers are signing up on quickly. Maybe it'll have an effect on solar installers too, so they can sign on and get certified. But it's disruptive for sure. And yeah, want to see if there's any other final thoughts from people. You know, perhaps like if there's any experience with other solar shingle products. Or other thoughts?
I just wanted to say, since I've been following solar roofs for a while, I think it's a very practical solution that GAF has put forward. So I think it's really practical. So I'm looking forward to seeing how its adoption rate will take off.
Thank you. And say the two things we're focused on now are just, you know, improving efficiency and making it cheaper, you know, because I think when you can make a product that's affordable, you know, you can combine, you know, something that usually takes two projects into one, and roll it into one finance package, you know, it's going to be much easier for homeowners to say, yeah, well, I'm getting a new roof. Let's look at the solar option. Let's look at the upgrade, and be able to roll that into a single warranty package. And if you want to finance, into a single financing term as well. So I appreciate that.
It's pretty unique to see a manufacturer, like, especially in the space, like, offer both the product but also the service, right? So there's a lot of white glove service when it comes to project management that GAF is able to do, making it easier for this product to take off, but also the longevity of the system. I think it's rare to see like a full system warranty. So there's interesting advantages here that differ a little bit from the industry. So in all cases, it's good to see this, and especially I like this picture as it compares, the solar on one side and the shingle on the other. Hope to see more of those in the future.
Thank you, Juan.
Yeah, if no one else has any more questions, I don't know, David, if you have any other final points to make, but for my part, I want to just give everyone a couple of reminders about, we will have our summer solstice celebration. I hope to meet you in person there on June 24th, so we can meet up and have some beers and tacos at Veracruz Tacos. And we'll also continue with the virtual happy hours. This recording will also be posted on YouTube, so that way you can look back and share with the other members of the community or your coworkers. But I really do appreciate David for his time and sharing with us, kind of what's happening in another part of the industry about like how do we continue to reduce carbon emissions, through just the clean electrification of homes. So appreciate everyone's attendance here as well. Thanks for making the time this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Juan and Tatiana. It's been great getting to know some of y'all, and hope to see you at the solstice party. That sounds fun.
Count on it. Thanks so much, everyone. Hope you have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye. Stay cool.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all. See everyone soon.
Take care. See you soon.